Hi guys, today I'm going to talk about the importance of synergy in building your army lists. This is especially important with Space Marines because we're so reliant on flexibility and all that sort of thing within our codex. So basically I'm just going to go over what you should be thinking about to make a really effective army list with Codex Space Marines. I'm not going to go into any specific details on the tactics of all these units. Apologies that a couple of them aren't painted, namely these, which I'm still in the process of stripping, these Assault Marines, and this Land Speeder, which is just undercoated so far. So anyway, okay, when you're building an army list, the basic principles to bear in mind are to cover all the bases. So you need good anti-infantry, and you need good anti-tank. Now, that's fairly obvious. I mean, the best anti-infantry in general that you can get is a flamer. The reason being is that you never roll to hit, it ignores cover, and you can get a lot of wounds from one shooting attack. So, in general, the absolute extreme is like a Firestorm cannon, which ignores certain armor saves as well. So if you wanted the best you could possibly get for anti-infantry, you'd get as many Firestorm cannons as possible. Sorry, it might be called a Flamestorm cannon. If you want the best possible anti-tank, well, that's the multi-melter, as everyone knows, because you roll that 2d6 on armor penetration. Of course, then you have other problems, like how do you use those weapons effectively? How do you get them where they need to be, and stuff like that. And generally, that doesn't always work. So you have to take the best that you can, and then you have to make it work. So it's about compromises, like on points values, on what you can take and where you put it in your army, and then also how you actually use it. So to give you an example, okay, when building your army, think about what you'd like to include. So think about what you find are cool models. Like, for example, I'm a big fan of Sniper Scouts, so I have a unit of Sniper Scouts. Now, I don't use them in every game, but I certainly like the look of them, and I like to include them when I can. So, say I want to put them in my army. Okay, what are Sniper Scouts good with? Well, they're good at wounding anything, because they always wound on a 4+. They can get some rending, but mainly they're very good at long range and sitting in cover. So I give them all camo cloaks as well, which, you know, some of them have green stuff on there. So if I take scouts, I'm going to want them in cover. I want them to have good cover saves, and they're long range, but they don't fire very often. They're not very manoeuvrable because they have heavy weapons. So then I'm going to think, okay, they're there. Now, what's going to help them? What's going to help them perform so they can shoot monstrous creatures or shoot infantry, important infantry, get those precision shots? What's good at supporting them? Well, basically you're going to want something else there. Maybe you want something a bit heavier. For example, I have my triple las cannon Predator here. Now, the benefit of this is that it's also long range. It's 48 inches with all the las cannons. So what this can also do is sit back and accompany the scouts wherever they are on the board, and then shoot similar targets if they need to across the thing. Now, for people who know 40k, this is sounding pretty obvious. Basically, this is the beginning of a gun line army, or rather, the army's gun line, because you're going to have these guys sitting back shooting, you're going to have this tank sitting back shooting. Okay, so bear that in mind. Okay, the other thing, another troop's choice, tactical squad. I've seen this before if you've seen my tactical video. But basically, you can combat squad them and have one with a las cannon. Okay, great. Las cannon there, las cannons there, long range shooting there. Okay, then you've got your anti-tank, extremely long range, and you've got, well, some anti-tank, but mainly anti-infantry there. Okay, all very long range, all sit back. Okay, brilliant. Basically what you're creating there is synergy. Everything supports the others because they're all doing the same kind of thing. They all fill the same kind of role, and it's defining what you will do on the tabletop when you actually come to play with them. Now, the problem is this has weaknesses. Mainly, currently these are all sat back, so they won't be moving very far. If you have to claim objectives, which generally you are, and there's none in your area, then what are you going to do? I mean, you don't really have the resources to move forward here. I mean, you can if you make it work, but that's not important right now. So basically, sorry about that, a bit wobbly. Basically, think about what you can do first with the units you've got now, because you've got your gun line set up. So what's left over? Well, obviously, there's the second half of this combat squad. Now, again, if you see my tactical squad video, you'll know that I like to equip these with flamers and such. They're basically anti-infantry, but they're also very close-range anti-infantry. So these guys' job will to be go forward. Now, if they're going forward, they can claim the enemy's objectives, but they can also bring the fight to the enemy. I mean, for example, if you're going up against an Imperial Guard gun line, even with this, you're going to struggle. Basically, they can outshoot you. And in those situations, your battle plan is going to really struggle. So you need to be able to adapt it. And in that case, you'll want something to go forward. So you use what you've already got in the list first. So you add these, okay? You make them go forward. So they want to go forward, fair enough. But now they're going to be walking across the table, which means they'll often be out in the open. There's only 5 of them, so they'll get shot up. At the moment, they're on their own. So what do you do about that? Well, an obvious thing is to give them a rhino, some protection. It's very versatile, of course, and it's another tank on the field, okay? Which means this isn't the only one there now. So, not only are you getting that movement there, and that protection, and those options, but now you're getting some extra synergy, because this rhino combines with this, in having 2 tanks. So, it's target saturation. There's more than one tank on the field, so there's more than one tank-like object to take care of. Okay, and remember the other synergy as well. Okay, so fair enough. But again, even though these are supported with the rhino, there's still not really enough there. There's not enough brunt to take it forward. So obviously you could expand the amount, thus expanding the gun line on these, or you could look to other units. If you're going forward, the obvious choices are fast attacks. So here we have some fast attack examples. We've got the Assault Marines, or Vanguard Veterans if you prefer, with their jump packs. Now obviously they're quite fast and manoeuvrable on their own. Without going into the tactics of how to use them like the most efficiently, generally they'll go forward, or they could deep strike. So they can present that problem, you know, from turn 2 onwards. It's something in the opponent's face, in other words. So they're going up in the rhino. You can have other things going up, but generally you've got the gun line at the back and these go forward when you need to. Okay, if you don't fancy those, then there's obviously the bikes and the land speeder. Bear in mind, bikes can be taken as troops if you have a biker captain. The land speeder can be taken as squadrons. I have mine set up as double heavy flamer, except one of the heavy flamers is broken off at the moment. I need to re-glue that. So yeah, double heavy flamer, so that's built for anti-infantry and stuff. But the basic point is you have multiple things going forward. Suddenly there's a lot of targets there, and you also have that manoeuvrability, which makes you more flexible. Okay, but that's expanding from something you already had. Now, for example, if I took biker troops, if I took the bikes as troops, okay, I'd have my captain that's fast, because they'd be on a bike. I'd have scoring bikes to claim the enemy objectives. I would have this as a kind of midfield force, but going forward if I needed to. Remember, the rhino can keep up with the bikes fairly well with its 18-inch flat-out movement. It can also be used as a literal covering wall to provide cover when needed. So, you know, block line of sight, that kind of thing, even from certain bikes. Okay, And then you may think, okay, so obviously the fast attacks have synergy with each other, but they don't really have synergy with the long range things. Well, that's not true, because the long range gun line, with it being long range, means it can always shoot at the same kind of targets. So while these are all moving forward, these obviously shoot the priority targets from the very start of the game. So bear that in mind. Okay, you've got your gun line, you've got your fast moving things, and they're kind of working together. The trick basically is to leave nothing unsupported in the Space Marine Codex. If something's unsupported, it will probably die. Support it as best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to take multiples of the same unit. You just have to think what can do things, what can do the job you need it to do. So for example, say I have these units right here, okay, and whatever, I need to do an alpha strike, turn 1 alpha strike, okay, I need to do as much damage as I can the first turn. Now obviously I can use my gun line here. Go for transports with the las cannons, you know, try and get that first blood, whatever. I have a bike squad moving forward as fast as possible. I could deep strike these and that, but that wouldn't be until turn 2. Otherwise I could have them pushing forward as usual, have the Rhino moving forward. If I wanted to alpha strike more things, I could swap the Rhino for a drop pod, okay, get in there turn 1. I could infiltrate the scouts. I could give the sergeant melter bombs so you could get that turn 2 charge. If not, you can have a missile launcher on them like I've got right there. You could give them, well, sorry, you could use their crack grenades as well to take out enemy armour if you needed to. So basically, with some tailoring, I mean, obviously there's no change of points between that and a drop pod. Sorry, just try and get the camera steady again. Basically, with a little bit of rewiring what you've got or using it in certain ways, you can adapt your plan well because everything synergizes. Now obviously you can get better synergy in your army than what's here. This is just random examples I've thrown out here. Okay, another good example is using different units' special properties to support the other units you have. For example, the Predator is great for destroying enemy transports, okay, from long range. So that's what it's going to go for. I'm going to shoot up enemy rhinos, that kind of thing. As soon as that rhino blows up or whatever, the occupants have to get out. And then it'd still be my shooting phase. So if I shot that first, destroyed an enemy rhino, then I could shoot the occupants who come out. But to do that, if it's turn 1, I'm not really going to have many nearby. I mean, those could shoot it, but they're only going to do so much against that kind of target. So I could support it with long-range fire, like plasma cannons if I took that, or missile launchers. I could use heavy bolters or whatever. But another good thing is things like a whirlwind tank or a thunderfire cannon. One of my favourite tactics is, because they have such long range, is to take a thunderfire cannon, pop it with the Predator tank, pop the transport, sorry. As soon as the infantry get out, fire the thunderfire cannon at the squad, and it should wipe both of them out. Okay, and that is synergy, using both of them together. Okay. Now another benefit of using a thunderfire cannon then is that you get a tech marine. Okay, tech marines have a special ability where they can bolster cover. So obviously you put the thunderfire cannon itself into cover, bolster the ruins or whatever they're in, try and get a free up cover save. Okay, then suddenly you have better cover for your scouts. If they've already got camo cloaks, then that increases it further. So they could end up with a 2-up cover save, which is going to make them incredibly hard to shift. Then consider if they're on objective, perhaps it's a targeting relay or a skyfire nexus, which would make them incredibly dangerous, especially when they're really hard to dislodge. So think about that. Think about how you can use things differently. If you keep the Predator nearby a thunderfire cannon, and the thunderfire cannon is destroyed, then the tech marine can fix the Predator, or you could join a tactical squad. Suddenly they have 3 flamers, and some power fists in that squad, better leadership. They can still all fit in the Rhino. this is how it works. It's about thinking, trying to determine the best choices you can every time you play it. Like in this situation, I would use the land speeder to burn any infantry that came out of a transport that I popped, because it's incredibly fast. It can get up to 12 inches, shoot both heavy flamers at a unit, and will do so many wounds that it will severely cripple them. So it's good to have. Trying to think what else. You have to think about it yourselves, obviously. Go through, think about the units you have available, think about the units you want to play, and then think about what best complements them. Once you've popped that tank, what are you going to do then? Once you've deep struck that drop pod, what are you going to do to support things? What are you going to do if your plan goes wrong? Do you have any contingency plans? If you don't, then there's something you need to think about there. If you have several, then chances are you're going to be very successful when it comes to actually playing. So alright guys, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully that was helpful. If you like this video, feel free to watch my other ones. Check out my blog, of course. Subscribe, send me any messages you think. This has been quite a basic one. I'm going to go into more specific details on some of these other units soon. And also I'll have lots more Sisters Battle tactics soon as well. So see you later. Thanks for watching.